Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we're looking at Saint Sinner issue 7. This is the last issue in the series. This is of course part of the Clive Barker superhero universe of the Razorline imprint. Now we pick up where last issue left off with Saint Sinner driving a cab full of people through a gate. And this story actually really makes it clear this could have been a really good comic if they had brought down the philosophical pseudo-intellectualism. Now this is written by Elaine Lee again, with art by Larry Brown, inks by Bryant and Morissette, colors by Maria Parwilski. Now the art is a lot cleaner in this issue, so I'm not overly upset, but it's still not that great. So anyway, these 5 people in the cab are drawn into the Exitsphere. One of them is a dead lady, so we learn each of their roles in this scenario from this half-faced girl that the Saint had met previously in the previous story arc when he had been kicking around in Ecto Kid and Saint Sinner issue 5s. We've got a kid with cancer, we've got a mother that worries about him, we've got a worried father whose baby disappeared, which is why they're there, a drug addict, and the Saint. So we learn about the half-faced girl's origin and how her grandmother pushed her in front of a subway car, but there's something more to her, but we're not real clear on what. And we learn that the time distortion the Saint saw in the previous issue was from a Tempest Magus. According to Kento Kanto, it's a sentient fourth-dimensional creature. Its physical being finds expression in time rather than mass. And that's why it had experienced that time distortion. Well, the baby gets snatched up into a place called the Exitsphere. Now, that place was created when the babies of children that had been brought back to life were resurrected, as it were. So when a sick baby died, it was supposed to go to the other side, but instead the doctors were able to save it, and it created this extra dimensional pocket by not letting those kids go back. So the Saint figures out that the only way to get the kid back is to switch the babies. Well, it turns out the drug addict is somebody who doesn't want to live. So the Saint Sinner reverts him back into baby form and sends him with the cancer kid into this other realm, because the Saint can't go himself, but the sick kid can, because he's already half dead. Now, of course, the kid's mom doesn't want him to, but it doesn't matter. He's the only one that can do it. Well, Bull Baby goes with him. They pull him through into this rift world, and Bull Baby goes with him to kind of protect him and keep an eye on things. And the kid manages to switch babies with the mother of the child, the dead woman. So her soul is willing to switch the living baby for the dead one, but the living kid is half dead as well because it had been injured by a stray bullet previous issue. So the sick kid comes back, and Saint Sinner is able to cure his cancer in this other world, and they quickly send everybody in the cab back through the rift, and the taxi crashes into a television screen where one of the sinister evil guys is on TV, Blake Merchant Smith. And that would have been a lead up to a larger battle had the series continued. And we're kind of left there with Saint Sinner being torn between his multiple personalities and whatnot, and the series ends. It was actually a really good story if they had toned down, like I said, the pseudo-intellectualism and trying to sound smarter than it was, and just had a simple story of, okay, this is what needs to be done, as I laid it out, but, obviously in 32 pages of comics, it would have been a stronger issue. It probably would have been a great issue if they had done that, because it was a good story concept. It just tried too hard to be something greater. And I think that was the major failing of this, was they were trying to compete with a book like Sandman, Book of Magic, stuff like that. They were trying way too hard to look like one of those Vertigo titles when it's not really... the concept is good enough for that, but they didn't have the right creative team on it. And I don't think it would have worked then either. I think there was only so much of a market for those type of books. So yeah, if they had played it more as a straight up superhero story without all the intellectualism, it probably would have been a really good book. This issue would have been great, but the title itself would have been really good. But instead they were trying to do all this mysticism nonsense. So I think that really hurt it in the long run and made it kind of a convoluted mess when it could have been just a nice simple concept that worked, and they tried too hard. But I don't think that Elaine Lee is without talent. I think this was just the wrong book for that talent. Overall, this was the best issue in the series, quite honestly. It's the one that made the most coherent sense, which is still not a whole lot, but at least it had a beginning, middle, and end. Unfortunately, before they could kind of right the ship, I think they were in the right direction with this issue, but before they could correct, it was too late. I'm a little disappointed. I think the character has a lot of potential to be an interesting character if you tone down the highfalutin nature of it and make it more of a straight up adventure story and explain the powers, explain what he's doing. This issue did a much better job, but overall the series is crap at it. So if you're gonna pick up an issue of this series, pick up this one. It's the only one worth tracking down. I would only pick it up if it was in a 50-cent bin or a dollar bin. I don't think it's worth more than that. So yeah, unfortunately, Saint Sinner was a pretty big disappointment, although the concept I thought was really good. But that'll do it for this episode. As always, thank you so much for watching and supporting the channel, and we hope to see you on the next episode.